Hey friends, welcome to yet another episode of Camera Quest. I am David Miller, talking to you from my studio, Primordial Creative. Wanted to talk to you about a particular kind of camera that you can get almost anywhere. That is the disposable camera, and in this case, I'm talking about Fuji disposable cameras. They've got a little flash on them. I bought a pack of these because one of the models I worked with, Cheyanne, had a particular idea of shooting in kind of a tire shop environment with cars. I had come across one of these in Mesa and I knew it'd be a great place to shoot, but I also knew that if you're trying to shoot around a store or any other place where they're wary of professional photographers exploiting them, you kind of need to go in there and look a little amateurish. I hate to use that word, because disposable cameras have their place, and certainly there's a lot of fashion magazine spreads that might be done on disposable cameras looking for that snapshot aesthetic. But that's how I feel, that this particular snapshot aesthetic is deliberately amateurish, and we want to go somewhere, we don't want to be detected. This is how we're going to do it. So we went in there with some disposable cameras, actually shot outside of the shop for about 1 minute before somebody who worked there is like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And I'm like, "This pretty girl's a model. Can we come in and do our business?" And they're like, "Sure, why not?" So we got to shoot in a cool environment that really wouldn't have access to without the disposable camera. When I went in there, I also took in another camera that had a flash, and that was a 35mm Holga. So kind of double fisting cameras at the same time. And I'll put the results side by side because I want to show off that this little Fuji disposable camera actually had fairly good focus, and with the flash on it, I think did good exposures on my model. We weren't very far from each other, but I can't say the same thing about that Holga 35mm. A lot of those pictures just look real rough, and they're definitely out of focus. Flash didn't do very much in that case. I did another set of disposable camera work with model Riley Ray, and this was in a graveyard next to her house in Seattle. Now, feel free to jump on me in the comments that we should not be shooting in a graveyard and that this is disrespectful, so on and so forth. I understand where you're coming from. This is just what we ended up doing when we were in Seattle. So Riley's 5'9", she's kind of fashion model stats, did some fashion model stuff alongside some graves. And then to wrap up both with Cheyanne and Riley, we went to a convenience store and just shot around the outside of it. Because when you think of snapshot aesthetic, I know that I think of things that incorporate posters and quickie marts, just things that are kind of really mundane, everyday life things. We got a cool environment, and then we got the boring convenience store stuff. I have to say, some of this work doesn't appeal to me, but on the other hand, it has a life and vitality that speaks to, I think, a lot of people who like to see mundane stuff presented colorfully. I think the colors are really strong out of these disposable cameras. And as I'm speaking to you, I'm actually selling off a lot of my own personal camera gear, including my 35mm cameras. It's just not something that I have a really big collection, and I need to downsize, and I need some money. But as I pursue 35mm stuff going forward, I think I'm just gonna order these 3 packs of Fuji cameras, have them in the bag whenever I'm with a model and we find ourselves in an environment that is suitable for snapshot work, or whenever I'm with a model and we're walking into like a store or a business where they're gonna jump down my throat for having not just a professional digital camera, but maybe like the Canon AE1 is fairly professional looking 35mm camera. We need to be undercover, we need some subtlety. I'm just gonna work with this disposable camera stuff. It's real poppy, it's real punchy. So those Fuji disposable cameras, hard recommend for me if you're into the snapshot aesthetic, if you're into things that are poppy or just feel very real or very colorful. that's one way to go. Definitely a lot cheaper than working with the instant film that I've been working with for the last few years. See you next time.